Lamentations 4:1. How is the gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out into the top of every street. Subject matter. The precious stones, Salakia, the precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold. How are they esteemed as an earthen pitchers to work the hands of a potter? So right here, the gold is speaking about the sons of Zion. The sons of Zion is the subject matter. Jumping down to verse 8. Their visage is blacker than a coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withereth, it become like a stick. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakahak Wadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than never. All right, the would-be judges, the 144,000, and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathen nations who have the appearance of the heathen nations, the Israelite foreigners. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, all right, to the scattered Israelites wherever they may be among those heathen nations, the Negroes, the Latinos, and the Native Americans that are scattered among all people. Okay. I read that in the beginning because it is a clear description and a comparison of gold to the sons of Israel, to the sons of Zion, and then it even tells you what they look like. But this is supposedly Daniel Fitch, all right, which in the 15th century was referred to as from, I think he was from France. It was either 15th or 16th century. He was called a Jew. But I just read the biblical description. And I'm just going to show you how the Ashkenazi JOO's converts completely hijacked. Remember, they replaced the word Zion, the word Israel, the word Jerusalem, the chosen, the Israelites. They replaced it with Jew and Jewish. All right. And that creates a lot of confusion. Because if you listen to them, they'll talk about Abraham and refer to him as Jewish. They'll talk about Isaac and refer to him as Jewish. They'll hijack the 12 tribes and refer to them as Jewish, and they're not. That's a complete fabrication. So just as this image of Daniel Fitch is fabricated, the JOOs have fabricated history and planted themselves in places in history where they were not the people in power, where they were not the people of the Lord, and they put their faces there. So let's bring some shame upon Esau Edom, because what I'm holding in my hand is this book, Nature Knows No Color Line. And on page 183, not to mention this book is full of images of the royalty of the coats of arms from French, Dutch, Belgian families, the Negroes who were rulership at that time. This was all 14th, 15th, 16th century, 17th century. All right, these are the coats of arms. Now, mind you, to give you a little history on this book, these images are in in Donald Fairbairn's Book of Crest from 1859, which is at the Library of Congress, and only a House of Representative men or a congressman can even take that book out. Okay, that's these are the images. This is where the imagery in J.A. Rogers' books come from. So legitimate sources here. Okay, and then when you see these, this is page 84, 85. Names of families except 3 denote Negro ancestry: French, Italian, Spanish, Polish families. You see, the pale people that are in that part of Europe right now, they aren't the original inhabitants. They didn't start those lands. All right. After Rome fell at the hand of Negroes, that's why they hated so much Israelites. All right. Real tribesmen of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. They ruled all of Europe. So all those buildings in Milan and in Spain and in Portugal and France and Britain, all those structures were built by them. All those castles in Scotland and Ireland. Okay, and even Ben Franklin writes about this in 1751. His that letter that he wrote to better humanity, or whatever it's called. When you get to paragraph 24, he's speaking about these people and how they should not be allowed to come into America. Okay, and at this time, it wasn't until the 1860s, even the Ashkenazi hadn't hijacked the Israelite heritage yet, because up until that time, they still referred to themselves as converts. So you knew that anyone that was Jewish was a convert. Now that line has been blurred and erased. Okay. So also in this book on page 180, on page 123, I'll hold it up to the screen and I'll read it. Screenshot it, Baba Kasha. Screenshot it. That's page 123 in Nature Knows No Color Line. All right. So remember, when you see that word Jew, that's a hijack for Israelite. Okay. It says that this is about at the bottom of the second paragraph. The divorced women probably married black men, which would to some extent account for the existence of black Jews. See, then that's them. You know, we just read the description going back to the Bible. Okay, so it had nothing to do with with it the other way around. And then you also have to remember that Jewish people they consider your heritage through your mother, which is not biblical. All right, that's a New Age thing that they started during the time of chattel slavery. All right, and it says Solomon loved the black woman, a Shulamite, and that Shulamite was what you would call a Mexican today, by the way. And his Song of Solomon was written of her, and it's not. The Songs of Solomon is written of Solomon. It tells you that at the beginning of it. So let's go. Let me get that before I even go any further. That's a very false interpretation that they try to do to explain away Solomon's blackness. Songs of Solomon 1 and 1. The Songs of Solomon's, which is Solomon. So it's talking about Solomon is the subject matter. All right. When he says, I am black, it is not, verse 5, I am black, but comely, ye daughters of Jerusalem. He's as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. All right. We just read in Lamentation what the tribe of Judah and the rest of the Israelites looked like. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, that they were darker than the coal. Their visage, when you looked at them, that's plain. When you look up the words that refer to blackness, even when you darkness, it refers to being dark complected, the dark skin. What is it? Jeremiah 14 and 2 said, Judah mourneth, they are black unto the ground, they are dark like the soil. That word Kedar is the same as the word Kedar here, because some people try to say, the gates were dark. that's the lie that Vocab Malone told, but that's way from true. And that's the same. Even though it's spelled Quadar, they spelled it with a K here in Song of Solomon. It's Quadar in Jeremiah 14 and 2, but they mean the same thing. Dark skin, dark flesh. All right, and Kedar was a Ishmaelite. All right, and he was very, very dark. So even the Arabs were dark as Africans, dark Indians. Okay, you got some Indians that are darker than some Africans. All right, you can just Google it. and see the imagery. Hell, you go there. Hell, come to Chicago and go up on Divine. You'll see them. So Esau Edom is just a horrific and liar he's exposed. So let's continue with that reading. It says, Waite says, an interesting graduation of all shades down to the black is exhibited by Jews, especially dark, were the Jews of Spain and Portugal. So I guess all the Jews of Spain and Portugal married black men. All right. Why would Jewish women not be marrying black men like that today? Some of them do, but you see the hypocrisy and the lies in this. It says, Waite says, an interesting graduation of all shades down to the blacks exhibited by the Jews, especially dark, were the Jews of Portugal and Spain. The Portuguese Jews were very dark, says Pritchard. The Duchess of Abrantes, wife of Napoleon's ambassador to Portugal, said the Jew, the Negro, and the Portuguese could seem to be in a single person because they were. Here's a definition of it. All right. So dark were the Jews, or the Judites, it should say, especially of Portugal and southern Spain, that many whites thought all Jews were black or dark. All right. Then it even mentions the German Jews. Okay. So let's look up this word, Moreno. Okay. This is from Etymon Online and Etymology Dictionary Online. Moreno, a Jew or more in Spain to avoid persecution. That part wasn't even necessary, just the description. All right, let's get down to it. A Jew or more. I used to say a Christian too. It seems like they revised this. Yeah, it doesn't say crypto Jew anymore either. Yeah, it looks like they've changed it. Also a Moreno, a Jew or more in Spain, to avoid persecution, publicly profess Christianity while privately continue to practice beliefs of the old religion. 1580s. So in the 1580s, so these were the original inhabitants and builders of everything that when you go and visit Spain and Portugal and all those beautiful buildings and images and pictures that people love to take, those were built by these very niggers that you hate so much and that is spoken of in this book, from Nature Knows No Color Line. And what's even beautiful about it is that here you can screenshot the bottom of it, and these are the sources where all that information came from. These are the books and where they came from. 1746, 1833, all right, 1845. You can see, screenshot it, because it goes with this paragraph. If you don't have this book, you screenshot this paragraph, pause and screenshot it, and then screenshot the bottom where it came from. The evidence. Man, that's a hell of, just those books alone would destroy the lie that the people in Israel today are the people of the Lord. That they're not. Those are the converts. The Ashkenazi who hijacked the and right here behind me, let me grab it. Where is it? Right here in front of me. No, it's still here. Yeah, this book right here. I didn't put it on the screen because I wasn't thinking about it at the time. But the Sephardim in America. See, the Ashkenazi began to call themselves the Sephardim because what we're talking about are, this is by Martin A. Cohen and Abram J. Peck. So these Morenos are the Sephardim. Those are the Sephardic Jews. The Ashkenazi Jews, all right, hijacked the Sephardim's nationality when they came to America and took over what they were setting up. There was the Sephardim that came over here because those Sephardim, when they left Portugal and Spain and went all across the world, through Europe, and then they also came to America and were building up. And these were the people that Ben Franklin was complaining about. The Sephardim Jews who are now being called the Huguenots. Some people erroneously say the Huguenots, but it's actually the Huguenots. That's what they became. All right. So here it says, and this is in the flap of the very book I just showed you, The Sephardim in America, Studies in Culture and History. It reads, in the year 1992, I'm going to just jump down to the second paragraph. No, I'll read through it. Columbus quintessentially marked a special moment in history of American Jewish experience. For a brief time, the historical spotlight was able to shine on a group of American Jews whose ancestry left Spain. This is talking about the very Negroes that you just looked at and saw on the screen. All right. Columbus undertook his journey discovering them while mainstream America celebrated the 500th anniversary of Columbus' discovery. The New World saying group in American Jews, the Sephardim, shed tears for the nearly 200,000 Spanish Jews who were expelled in 1492 from the country which they had lived for many centuries. The Sephardim in Americas is the first collective effort to interpret the long journey from Spain to the Western Hemisphere by the grandchildren of the Spanish expulsion. So, and Cristobal Colon is Columbus's real name. I have a book that I'm desperately trying to find, and it has the evidence and the receipt of that is his son Diego's Colon lawsuit and the letters between him and his lawyer, and the letters to the courts for his lawsuit for his father's discoveries and earnings that he didn't get, that he felt weren't passed down to him. All right, so his real name was Cristobal Colon. Christopher Columbus he was not Italian, he was Spanish, and I believe he was Jewish. You have some saying that he was an actual Judite and that he was of color. I haven't read that any evidence of that myself. I don't believe that. But one thing's for sure, his surname was Cristobal Colon. Okay? It says, the Sephardim who identified themselves according to their prayer ritual, whose name came from the biblical designation of Spain, were a significant group of Jewish immigrants that settled in the Americas. They dominated the religion, social, economic life of American Jewry during the colonial and early federal period. See, this makes so much sense why Cristobal Colon was upset with them, because they also were starting to snatch the ones up that came from Africa and bring them to America as slaves. But but these other ones that come over here and were doing all these business deals with the natives, they were the same people. That's why they were able to come over here and set up the colonies. These were your Huguenots. This is history that is not taught. All right. It says because it would expose the so-called white man. He didn't set up America. The Israelites set it up, and then he came over and hijacked it and slaughtered their people over here, the natives of the land, and hijacked it and then enslaved and slaughtered the people who set it up as well, scattered them. All right. It says they dominated the religion, social, economic, and life of Jewry during the colonial and early federal periods. Yet by the middle of the 19th century, they had become part of the American Jewish myth. They were viewed as the grandees, the American Jewish society, and the aristocratic culture group that had built and vanished as a fact of later history of American Jewish life. That's why, because the Ashkenazi Jews came over, stood on what the Sephardim, the real Jews, had done, and then claimed their heritage. Claimed that that's them. It all makes sense why in the 1860s they started saying that they were the actual bloodline Israelites, when prior to that they were just Jewish. The suffix ish means to be like. You hear what's going on? You see and hear what's going on here? All right. It says in the years between 1881, please pay attention, the great period of Eastern European Jewish immigration to the United States, a second and lesser known group of immigrants left the shores of Europe and Asia to find a home. And all of Europe is Asia, by the way. Europe is a part of Asia. All right. They spoke Judeo, Spanish, Greek, Arabic, also claimed Sephardic heritage. Their religion, practice, songs, and these were Ashkenazis coming over and claiming they were Sephardic. Their religious practices, songs, and poetry were all their own, although they were Jews from Turkey, Greece, and Balkans, and East European Jews. Many may as well have been another planet. They spoke Yiddish, and they tied that language, and they used the Hebrew characters. All right. Yiddish is another language that uses Hebrew characters. All right. And no recognizable Jewish surnames. They all change their names, like Benjamin Netten, not a Jew. To the already established Sephardim, they could only be distant relatives. So history does lie, big time. I'm gonna play a short video. Let's pull it up and play it. And here it is. Let's turn the sound up, get it ready.
History is a lie. How were Jews described in Europe before Ashkenazis became the majority? From Nature, Knows No Color Line by J.A. Rogers, page 123. Quote, Waite says, an interesting gradation of all shades down to the black is exhibited by the Jews. Especially dark were the Jews of Spain and Portugal. The Portuguese Jews were very dark, says Pritchard. The Duchesse de Brante, wife of Napoleon's ambassador to Portugal, said that the Jew, the Negro, and the Portuguese could be seen in a single person. So dark were the Jews, especially of Portugal and southern Spain, that many whites thought all Jews were black or dark. Another source can be found from The Natural History of Man by James Cowles Pritchard. Quote, the Jews of Portugal are very dark. More corroborating evidence can be found from the memoirs of the Secret Services of John Mackay, Esquire, published in 1733. Daniel, Earl of Nottingham, Secretary of State, is eldest son to Mr. Finch, Lord Chancellor in the reign of King Charles II. He hath also the exterior air of business and application, enough to make him very capable. In his habit and manners very formal. A tall, thin, very black man, like a Spaniard, or Jew, about 50 years old. We can appreciate that even in the 1700s, people from the British Isles recognized Jews to be of a dark complexion, like their Secretary of State, Daniel Finch, 2nd Earl of Nottingham. By the way, this is supposed to be a contemporary painting of Daniel Finch, Earl of Nottingham. This man is clearly of a fair...
You see that lie? That man this is clearly a lie. So this is who they put up to be this guy right here. Let's let it finish playing.
This man is clearly of a fair complexion, not dark like a Jew as he is described. Just a little peek into the whitewashing of history. Finally, from Shakespeare and the Jews by James Shapiro.
Shakespeare and the Jews from James Shapiro. All right, and we're about on page 171 of this book when William Brereton jotted down his impressions of the Jews in the synagogue in Amsterdam in 1635. Amsterdam, again, that's in the Netherlands, Holland, all right, the Dutch, this is a Dutch synagogue, Dutch people, right? Amsterdam, 1635, he's going to let you know that. He noted that the Jewish men are most black. They're most black, the Jews. Who was the Jews? Again, who was the Jews that were in Amsterdam? Most of those Jews, all right, had fled from Spain and Portugal. Sephardic Jews who were what? Most black. It says, and when the Scottish minister Robert Kirk toured London in January 1690, he also paid a visit to the synagogue there. Now, this is a whole other different country. Right now, he's in England. Now, a whole different person, letting you know what he saw when he went in the synagogue, the Jewish synagogue in London, all right, in 1690. He observed over 200 Jews worshiping, 200. All right, 200 people, 200 Jews. He noted in his journal that they were all very black men. Again, Jews worshiping in a synagogue in London. They were what? All very black men. All very black men. Sephardic Jews. Who was in London as a Jew? A lot of these, again, were Sephardic, Moorish Jews from Portugal and Spain. A lot of these were Huguenots, so-called Huguenots.
See, he called them Huguenots. They is Huguenot. All right, and just the little icing on the cake, this right here is Haley Steinfeld. She was just in the movie Sinners. Played a really good role. And she played a person of Negroid ancestry who could pass for being white. Okay, and you've often heard me talk about this. I have an image of my mother, which one day I'm going to put it up, who was one of those people. She came from a family just like Haley. When that white man came to remove Haley, they told her, well, why is she in there? And they said, well, she's family. All right? Don't worry about why she's here. You're not invited. All right? And there are many families who live their lives this way so they can have it easy in America when they could pass for being so. They even said it in the movie. You some of them niggers that look white? Okay? And I said through the spirit, this girl is playing this role too much. This girl is really a Jake. Well, I just watched an interview just yesterday, with her talking about her Her grandfather's father is a black man. It means she's a seed of the Israelites. So guess what? I was right. So that's just a little extra because some people are going to get mad. But with that, I'm going to give all praises, all honor and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash, Kwam Yasharallah, Abad Babal.